Good afternoon to you. I'm Danilo Evangelista, and welcome to our tropical weather outlook video for today, Saturday, August 9th, 2025. On today's discussion, we're going to talk about Invest 97L, which is formed in the Eastern Atlantic today. And this is the wave that I've been talking about for the last several days that really has potential, and the models have been aggressive on for quite some time now. And so far, as I'll show you today, the model guidance on 97L is just as aggressive as the models have been showing it potentially would be for the last several days. And I'm pretty much going to highlight why 97L will really be the wave to watch this upcoming week, and will really make tracking in the Atlantic a very hard and long and interesting task this upcoming week. I'm going to show you all the models and also the conditions that 97L will have to work with in the Atlantic, all coming up shortly. But let's get started, as we usually do, with taking a look at the National Hurricane Center homepage. For you, the latest 2 p.m. tropical weather outlook as of the National Hurricane Center. We obviously have Invest 97L, which was designated this morning. 10% chance in the next 48 hours, not expecting too much development in the next 48 hours, unlike what some models are showing, which I'll get to in a minute. But over the next 7 days, now at a coin flip, 50-50 chance that this will develop, and it'll probably only go up from there. Really quickly, we have Invest 96L. This is down to a low chance of development within the next 7 days. No, I don't want that notification, please. But this still has a chance to develop, and I'll show you why I think that in a minute. But 2 areas of interest, and probably only going to increase from there, especially as we head further and further into August, as I said would happen. Here's a look at the satellite of what's going on in the Atlantic right now, and I'll get to the Pacific in a little bit just after we go over what's happening now. And for now, there's not much happening in the Atlantic. We have 96L here, which is producing convection this afternoon. Part of the reason why I think that it's not entirely done yet, because it'll probably, in my opinion, run into more favorable conditions in the subtropics and maybe still have a chance to develop. So again, we still got to watch 96L. And it's the peak season after all, or we're getting close to the peak season, still about a few weeks away before we are actually into the heart of the peak of the hurricane season. But again, I'm not ruling out 96L. We have some showers and thunderstorms here. This is what I think was our old area of interest off the East Coast that was potentially going to develop, but obviously failed to do so. And then we have some more energy here off the southeast, bringing rain to Florida, and of course, generally throughout the southeast and the northern Bahamas as well. This is unlikely to develop, but obviously still bringing rain and gusty winds, and of course, those are still, impactful. And I think off to the north here, this is probably the remnants of Dexter, so that's kind of cool to see. But the main focus is out here in the Eastern Atlantic. And really quickly, though, before we get to that, just to show you what's going on in the Eastern Pacific, we have Tropical Depression Henriette, degenerated into a low pressure yesterday, but is now refiring convection and probably on its way to strengthen back to a tropical storm. National Hurricane Center actually said it would strengthen to a hurricane yesterday, but I guess they no longer forecast that today, but it's going to re-strengthen to a tropical storm, so we're not done with Henriette yet. But Ivo here in the Pacific is 60 miles per hour, 1,001 millibars. This is probably on its way out, and yeah, it's going to probably degenerate and become a post-tropical system by the end of the weekend. So really not much to worry about with Ivo. And beyond that, nothing much else to talk about in the Eastern Pacific. Our next area of concern, our biggest area of concern, at least for tracking-wise, will be here in the Eastern Atlantic, because of this tropical wave here, now designated Invest 96L, right off the western coast of Africa. And this is the wave that, once again, the models were really aggressive on for the last several days, and they're only getting more aggressive as the days go by. Unlike our last few waves, including 96L, that all the models were very aggressive on as it was coming off, but then as time went on and, the drier conditions of the Atlantic got to it, it eventually dropped off. 97L might actually be a wave to watch. And you can see here is right in the eastern Atlantic, off the west coast of Africa. And then obviously you can see the signature for the wave associated with 96L. And here's a satellite image of the eastern Atlantic just to show you 97L much closer. And definitely already has a lot of energy with it. Lots of rotation already within the system. So that definitely has a vorticity, probably some sort of mid-level center already, or mid-level vortex that is already aggressive enough with it. Obviously, it's still a disorganized wave for now, and it probably will remain a disorganized wave for a few days until it really consolidates and probably blossoms. And then off to the west here, you can see Invest 96L trying to fire some convection this afternoon. So we'll see if it, once again tries to hold on. But trust me, especially with 97L, and you can kind of already just see how vigorous this wave is. The ceiling really is high, especially as it progresses into the Western Atlantic over the next several days. And I'll show you one reason with that. Just look at the model intensity guidance for 97L as of this morning. And this is the first run of the intensity guidance. And very, very, very rarely do you see this guidance, or not often. I don't want to say very rarely because you sometimes see this, but it's not very often. And this just represents, especially as we head further and further into time, the forecast, key here at the bottom goes out to 168 hours. So that's the next 7 days. And the intensity potential for this only goes further and further and further higher. In fact, the three model guidance, or the main three guidance plots right now, take this to major hurricane intensity, if you can believe it, with 97L. And usually I would say, especially when we have the more aggressive solutions here on the model runs, especially early on now, showing a major hurricane, you obviously can't be too certain about it. But it's not just 97, it's not just the model guidance here. Here's the 12Z GEFS track and intensity guidance for 97L. And pretty remarkable. Lots of ensemble members here that are also very aggressive. Many of these ensemble members, and even a few dipping down, because they actually have a key here of intensity they forecast by pressure. Lots of these ensemble members take the pressure all the way down into the 960s and 950s here. And it's not just one or two model ensembles here that is showing that. It's quite a handful of them. And I think it really highlights the kind of potential 97L has here in the Atlantic. And I'm not saying that to hype this thing up. This really does have a lot of potential, and I'll show you with the models in just a little bit. One thing I'll show you, though, this is the wind shear map in the Atlantic. And just look throughout the entire deep tropics. All you see is green. Low wind shear, anywhere from 5, 10, at most 15 knots of wind shear in the upper levels of the atmosphere. And the actual upper level wind pattern itself will be very favorable, especially as it gets into the Western Atlantic. And that's when the models really blossom this storm right now. Both the GFS and the Euro, this just blossoms as it gets towards the Western Atlantic. And the shear is very low, so shear will not be a concern for this, especially as it progresses westward. Sea surface temperature anomalies, very, very warm, as I've said they would be, especially since June, even when everybody was saying that the sea surface temperatures and the MDR and the Atlantic in general was cooler than recent years. Obviously, the Atlantic is not going to be as warm as it was last year or the year before that, because those years were just anomalies. But look in the MDR, very, very warm sea surface temperature anomalies. They only get warmer further west. And then especially once you get into the Western Atlantic, the Bahamas, the Gulf of Mexico, off the southeast U.S. near Bermuda, solidly anomalies, at least a degree, some places even 2 degrees Celsius above normal. So it is quite literally like jet fuel. It is nuclear, the environment that this will have further west. So this is really going to be something we're going to have to watch over the next week. And I say the next week because we're already tracking it as something just coming off of Africa right now. It's going to take a long time till it gets towards the Western Atlantic. And it probably won't be a tropical system the entire time from now till the Western Atlantic. It's probably going to take a few days till it develops, but especially as it traverses further and further west, things are really, really favorable for it. And I'll just show you here with the models, starting off with the GFS, and then I'll show you the Euro, and then I'll show you the Euro ensembles. And actually, I'll probably show you the upper level pattern on the models too. So here's the GFS for the 12Z run, and the GFS is definitely the most aggressive model with this. It develops it within the next 2 days, the next 48 hours already, and obviously there's doubts to be had about that, but develops it pretty quickly. And as I mentioned yesterday as well, maintains this on a pretty westerly track, and you can see the high pressure over this storm remains very, very strong, and it gets us pretty far into the Western Atlantic. And just notice just how much strong this system becomes, especially as it gets past 40 west. And I'll actually show you the pressure here. It goes from 990s or upper 990s, 999 millibars. This is roughly 3 to 4 days out, and then it gets past 40 west, especially once it gets past 50 west, and then it really bombs out. It goes from 987 here, that's 6 days out, hour 144, and then strengthens all the way down to 960 millibars, and this is just over 7 days out. And then I'll take you a little bit, just this time, I'll take you to beyond 7 days out, and really becomes a very powerful storm in the Western Atlantic, and this is getting into the days 8 to 9 range. 947 millibars, it's definitely a major hurricane in the Western Atlantic, and obviously this is 9 to 10 days out. You can't take this verbatim, especially with the track. And notice how I'm not really paying attention to, oh, is it going towards the East Coast? Is it going further west? Is it going to head towards Florida? Or is this going to go out to sea? I'm not paying attention to any of that right now, because this is literally 10 days out once it reaches the Western Atlantic, and it starts to reach the influence of, the United States and, land areas that we're close to further west. So you cannot take anything related to track seriously that far out right now. It's impossible. But I will say, notice how we have a very strong high pressure here in the Eastern Atlantic, and a high pressure that tries to build here over the Northeast. And obviously we'll just have to watch if this is able to find a way to sneak through and go out to sea, which hopefully it will. But it's very interesting, especially as this gets further west. You just notice here on the GFS, conditions just absolutely are ripe, and it blossoms incredibly. And I'll show you here on the 200 millibar wind. Definitely has a favorable environment for it right now. Well, not as favorable now, but as I just showed you, wind shear will be low throughout the entire MDR. But notice, especially as we get past 40 west and we start getting past the 60-degree longitude line into the Western Atlantic, notice the pattern that we have that sets up over this storm. Very classic upper-level anticyclone pattern here. And if you're not familiar with what an upper-level anticyclone is, it's pretty much an upper-level wind pattern where the winds are moving away from a tropical system. Very much a hallmark of a pattern that you would see in an intensifying, powerful hurricane or tropical cyclone of any kind. And that's exactly that pattern that sets up here over 97L as it progresses further and further westward. Further and further into the very, very warm sea surface temperatures we have here in the Western Atlantic, as I just showed you with the sea surface temperature anomalies, at least 1 degree or 2 degrees Celsius above normal, and actual sea surface temperatures are roughly around 29 to 30 degrees Celsius. So conditions are very ripe, and I'll just highlight that here on the Euro model as well, and I'll show you the 0Z because the 12Z is now not out yet, at least on Tropical Tidbits. But the 0Z is out, and I'll show you. The Euro is definitely the model that's probably a little bit more closer towards reality, especially with, this not developing immediately in the short term like the GFS has. And it takes a little bit of time to develop in the MDR. It doesn't really start, developing till around 50 west, which I could, potentially see. But notice, especially once this gets in the 50 to 60 west box in terms of longitude in the MDR. Just notice here, even on the Euro, getting towards around a week out, this just absolutely blossoms. And literally within a matter of a few days, this is roughly 6 to 7 days out, and then we go to 9 days out, and this becomes a pretty intense hurricane pretty quickly here on the Euro. So both the GFS, I'll show you the vorticity once again, around 190 hours out, both the GFS and the Euro have an intense hurricane somewhere within the vicinity of the Western Atlantic from 97L, and that's pretty. Given how far out this is 210 hours, so this is 8-9 days out, roughly around that time frame. Both of the models have an intense hurricane somewhere in the Western Atlantic, and that is pretty. What's the word? Pretty good consensus, a pretty good agreement. That's pretty remarkable this far out that the models are agreeing that there will be a powerful hurricane in the Western Atlantic that far out. And obviously things could very much change. This is all 7-8 days out, but the potential is there. The conditions are definitely there for something to blossom once it gets to the Western Atlantic, and conditions will only remain more favorable in the MDR as we continue through the rest of the month. So 97L will probably only be the beginning of what we'll probably see a lot more activity behind it in the MDR, and obviously it's not really showing now. You kind of have some waves here, and I'm pretty sure that the models will probably start getting much more aggressive on these waves as we head further and further into time. And again, as I said before, these waves, just because they don't automatically develop in the MDR, does not mean that they'll probably end up further west and being problems for us down the line as well. And honestly, just take a look at what the Euro does with 97L. Kind of slow with development, but it's not till it gets further west and pretty much already in the vicinity of the Western Atlantic is when things start blossoming, which is why I always say you can never be sure of anything, especially now that especially the time frame here. This is August 16th. We're now heading into the second half of the month of August, and again, climatology, that's when things really begin to ramp up. So lots to talk about here in the next several weeks for sure. And just to cap it all off, here are the Euro ensemble members, and this is just remarkable. This goes out to 10 days, and notice how many ensembles show up here on the Euro for one, and for two, notice how many strong ensembles we have here on the Euro. So both the GFS and the Euro picking up on the potential that 97L could be a significant storm in the Atlantic here within the next week, if not week to 10 days. So lots to keep on top of here in the Atlantic. Please, if you have not already done so, make sure to subscribe to my channel. And of course, if you found this video informative and you liked it, like this video as well. If you have any comments or questions, put them in the comment section below. I'll be sure to answer them. And if you subscribe, which I really recommend that you do, please be sure to turn on the notification bell so you can get these videos the moment I upload them. I'm going to be doing them every day, especially now that we have a lot to go over with 97L. And even though we don't necessarily know what's going to happen right now, I suggest no matter where you are, whether you're in the Gulf, whether you're in the East Coast, whether you're in the Bahamas, or whether you're in the Caribbean, get your hurricane plan ready now. Get all of your things that I said that you should have gotten together at the start of the hurricane season, your first aid kit, all of that. Have a plan for action. Do it now while there's still time. And we definitely have at least a week to be monitoring the system. Excuse all the loud noise outside, but I'm about to end anyway. Get all your plans and come up with a plan for action right now while there's still time. We still have a week. And it's going to be a long week, I will say. With that being said, that's going to do it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed it. Stay safe, enjoy the rest of your day, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. If I don't talk to you again till next week, but I will still post a video tomorrow, so be sure to stay tuned for that. And of course, again, I'll be back with more tomorrow.